All right, looks like we're live. Let me just make sure this is going out okay on the old YouTubes. Oh, all right, come on, come on. Huge delay. Come on. All right, sounds okay. All right, so first thing I wanted to bring up, and let me bring up the thing in question because I saw something on Twitter today that kind of triggered me, as they like to say. Let me bring up the tweet here. Okay, so I'm not going to read this guy because I'm not trying to pick a fight with him, but this is remarkably stupid. So he says, "You want to talk the big difference between comics and manga? What we should strive to learn from Japan, letting creators own their own content." Second tweet: "The Marvel DC work for hire model is indefensible beyond prioritizing defending intellectual property preservation over innovation." All right, so this is fucking retarded, and we're going to get into why here. And I hear this all the time, and it's always pointing to manga. It's always from the fucking weebs that, oh, they think they got you. They think this is how the manga is automatically not different, mind you, but inherently superior to quote unquote comics. Because again, it shows that they don't fucking understand American comics. If you have a superhero idea and you have an idea for a superhero book or any kind of book, and you wish to own it, there are places within the Western market you can go. Robert Kirkman owns properties such as The Walking Dead and Invincible, which is one of the best superhero comics of the last 10, 15 years. And he published those over at Image because Image primarily deals, or almost exclusively deals with creator-owned content. Same with Dark Horse. Although Dark Horse also does a lot of licensed shit from major properties owned by studios like Aliens and Predator. They used to do Star Wars before that reverted back to Marvel. But anyways, you can publish that shit and still own it. What he's referring to is the fact that when you create a character for Marvel and DC, and these characters are part of established fictional universes or multiverses, because both of them have several universes, respectively, you don't own it. See, this is this bullshit that like the Image guys tried to push in the 90s, where, you know, they went off to start their own company because like Todd McFarlane was butthurt that he thought he should own Venom, you know, because he put teeth on the black costume, you know, and Rob Liefeld thought he should own Deadpool and Cable, even though there were writers involved in both those cases. But either way, you know, they didn't really create original characters. They created spin-off characters from existing franchises. And obviously, they're not going to own that shit. Likewise, if you create even an original superhero, and you do that shit at Marvel and DC, and you put that shit in the Marvel or DC universes respectively, and make it a part of those fictional universes, you've basically forfeited your right to those characters. That's understood. Now, there are exceptions. For example, in fact, the only exception I know of, Chris Claremont back in the 90s created a book called Sovereign 7, which was this team of, I guess, superheroes that get stranded in the DC universe and they have their adventures in the DC universe. But Chris Claremont always owned those characters. But, you know, you've probably never fucking heard of Sovereign 7 because they're not fucking around anymore because nobody liked them. If DC owned them, you know, DC might have kept using those characters and revitalized them, and you might still know of them, but whatever. He made that deal with DC before he ever published a book. And that was understood. But if he'd have just created those guys and not discussed it with DC and thrown these guys in and had them interacting with pre-established DC characters and had them become a part of the DC universe, he wouldn't fucking own them. And that's not a bad thing. Because you have to understand, like, what manga doesn't really have, to the best of my knowledge, the manga market doesn't have massive shared universes the way Marvel and DC do. Everything Marvel publishes and everything DC publishes, with damn few exceptions, is either a part of their main fictional universe or it's a part of their broader fictional multiverse. Point is, it's all their fucking shit. And again, if you want to own your character, and it's not just some spin-off character, it's something original you own, and you do not want it to become the property of Warner Brothers or Disney, respectively, there are options. You can go to Dark Horse. You can go to Image. You can go to Omni Press, or I think IDW does creator-owned shit. You can go to all these things, and many creators have. As I said, Robert Kirkman was busy creating The Walking Dead and Invincible while at the same time working for Marvel. And he created a few characters for Marvel. None of whom really matter. He created this one character in like his Marvel team up run that I don't think anybody even fucking remembers. But the point is, he knew damn well that was, that wasn't going to be his character. Now, you could argue that maybe this prevents really new characters from coming into the Marvel and DC universe. There is an argument to that, because there really hasn't been many new characters, or I shouldn't say characters, many new franchises added to the Marvel and DC universe in some time. I know when Black James was on here, he was like, Rob Liefeld created whole new characters. And I said, yeah, well, because he was comparing the 90s to the 2000s. And I said, like, Jeff Jones created the Red Lanterns, for example. Well, yeah, but this was a whole new character. I'm like, no, it's not. Cable and Deadpool were spin-off X-Men characters, just like the Red Lanterns were spin-off Green Lantern characters. But you're not going to get whole new franchises, they would argue. And maybe there's something to that. That is part of the problem of having a shared universe. That said, though, assuming you're not just a greedy motherfucker, if you created a character and you thought that character was just awesome and you wanted that character to be remembered for decades and decades and decades, well, you have two options. You could try and self-publish it, and maybe it runs for a little while and is forgotten, or you could basically put it in the Marvel and DC universe, and then even once you're gone, that character will still be popping up here and there. So I mean, there is a bit of a trade-off, but yeah, I guess you could argue that, a lot of these creators aren't going to bring their best and brightest ideas, that kind of thing, whatever. And maybe that's true, but at the same time, it's just the nature of what Marvel and DC have accomplished here. They have created massive shared universes. And you can't just have a character introduced to a shared universe that then when that creator gets pissy and wants to take his ball and go home, you have to erase that character from the history of this universe. It just doesn't, it's not going to work that way. And again, to the best of my knowledge, I don't believe manga does any fucking massive shared universes like that, with several different franchises occupying the same universe. Just the nature of their publishing industry. Someone publishes something, it's self-contained. Fucking Dragon Ball Z, I guess, is self-contained. It doesn't interact with, it's not occupying the same universe as fucking Naruto, for example. But if it did, it would probably be better if, a common entity owned both. So again, that's something they like to throw out there as some sort of, this shows you that this is how the fucking manga industry is better than the comic book industry. No, it's not. Because A, you're not understanding how the comic book industry works. If you want to take your characters and continue to own them, you have places to go. If you want your characters to be folded into the broader and grander Marvel and DC universes, respectively, you go there. That's how it works. Those are your fucking options. And I don't think that's a bad system. If I had the opportunity to write comic books, there's stuff I would publish myself that I would want to own. And there's stuff I would just want to throw into the broader and Marvel DC universe to add to those fictional worlds that I love. And I would understand that if I created, character X or character Y and I threw them into DC and they became a member of the Justice League for a while and then, whatever, I don't own them anymore. Their history is now irrevocably tied to things I don't own. I'm not seeing what the problem is there. Now, one of the most famous cases of a writer who believed he was screwed, and I think it was his own damn fault, if you ask me. Alan Moore created the Watchmen, right? Okay, those were his original characters. He could have gone anywhere with them. Now, originally he wrote that story involving the Charleston Comics characters that DC had recently bought. And DC's like, no, we want to do different stuff with them. Characters like Blue Beetle and Question, Captain Atom. No, we're going to do other shit with them. And we're going to fold them into our greater DC universe. So he retooled that story to kind of make them, they were his OCs, original The Characters Don't Steal, and created Watchmen. Now, he published Watchmen through DC, and he had a deal with them that DC would retain the rights to Watchmen so long as Watchmen remained in print. And he thought, oh, I'm gonna get my characters back. Well, Watchmen has always remained in print because they're always publishing Watchmen trade paperbacks. This fucking stupid hippie contrarian dipshit thought he got the best of the Time Warner fucking lawyers, the Warner Brothers fucking lawyers that work for DC. Well, it's not gonna work that way, buddy. They're always gonna make sure they got 51% of the deal at the very least. And that's why he bitches about, say, the Watchmen movie. I think the Watchmen movie is fine. And if you ask me, the ending of the Watchmen movie is actually far superior to the ending of his book. But that's why he bitches about so much stuff. He's just mad that he doesn't fucking have the rights. But you know what? Dark Horse was a viable company at the time. And he could have gone there. He could have gone there and he would have retained the rights to Watchmen. But he didn't do that. Because he believed, because he was going to get more immediate money going to DC. He made his fucking choice. And I'm tired of hearing him bitch, and I'm tired of hearing his Dick Rider fans talk about how DC done him wrong. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They paid him exactly what was agreed to, and they followed the agreement to the letter. Oops. You done goofed there, Alan. Maybe instead of bitching about it, you should have learned. And he kind of did. He had other creations that he took over to Image and stuff like that. But also, would you even know what the fuck Watchmen is if he hadn't published it at DC? If it had just become some fucking Dark Horse book? Would anybody, except for a handful of really hardcore fucking nerds, have ever, it would be one of those unsung classics you hear about on like, lists on comic book sites every once in a while. Like, oh man, you should dig out Watchmen issues if you can find them because they only published so many because, nobody gave a fuck. I mean, somebody says, is Alan Moore shitty to his fans? Alan Moore is shitty to everyone. Make no mistake there. Alan Moore thinks he's better than the whole fucking rest of the species. And he's not. I mean, he's just a dipshit fucking hippie. Who published a few okay fucking stories. I mean, Watchmen is good. Don't get me wrong. Watchmen is also ridiculously fucking overrated. But yeah, I get so fucking sick of that. Like, oh, DC done Alan Moore wrong. And again, the Image fucking fanboys, they think, Todd McFarlane thinks that he should fucking own Venom. Todd McFarlane created Venom, which pisses me off to no end when I fucking hear that because there was a writer involved. David Michelin, I believe, was the writer at the time. But, he actually created the whole fucking story behind Venom. And then, obviously, the writers involved in the original Black Costume Saga and Secret Wars and shit. And also, Venom is a pretty cool character design. I'll give you that. But most of that character design is owed to the design of the black costume, which McFarlane didn't fucking make. He didn't fucking come up with that. So again, he added fucking teeth to the black costume, and he thinks he should own one of Marvel's most recognizable characters as a result of that. He built on something someone else had built. And again, it was cool adding teeth to him. That was a cool design, don't get me wrong. But he stood on the shoulders of other men and then thought he was a giant. I mean, that would be like if fucking Mark Bagley decided he should own fucking Carnage. Never mind that Carnage is a direct derivative character of Venom, a direct spin-off character of Venom. Never, it'd be like if Mark Bagley thought he should own Carnage, irrespective of Venom. That's the line of thinking involved here, and it's so fucking stupid. But again, it's something these fucking weebs throw out there because, you know, they have to always insist on how their fucking shitty gook books are so much superior to fucking Western comic books. Somebody says, I just got here from the Forney stream. What did I miss? By the way, apologies. I did not know I was stepping on Forney's stream. I had no idea he was streaming. These streams are very much, I don't know, spur of the moment, I guess is the way to put it. That said, though, I mean, I can't speak for how Forney feels about it, but I've never been all that worried about people stepping on my streams or people streaming opposite of me or something, for the simple fact that, I mean, like, you can watch it later. You know what I mean? You don't have to watch it right now. I mean, yeah, you can be in the chat and that's nice, but, you don't, I mean, a lot of the people who will listen to this are going to listen to it after the fact. Somebody says, what did I miss? Just got here. And then somebody says, comic talk with Bechtloff. Yeah, I was rambling on. Speaking of creator-owned books, while we're on that subject, Invincible by Robert Kirkman is a damn good superhero book. And I really suggest checking that out. It's one of the best superhero books of the last 10, 15 years. Now, I myself am kind of behind on it. I think I've read like the first 10 volumes of it or something in trade paperbacks, because it's gone on for a while. I think 2003 was when he started publishing it, maybe 2004, something like that. And it's still going on. So, you know, it's been going for a while. Somebody says, it's all right. Consider this a makeup for Saturday. Well, yeah, didn't do the Saturday show this week. Had shit going on. And actually, I got a job interview tomorrow and a drug test, so we'll see if I get that. It sounds like a decent enough place to work. Decent money. It's second shift, which I love. I love second shift. I hate getting up in the fucking morning. I really do. I always have. I've always been a night owl, not a morning guy. And second shifts are usually just more chill at these places. You know, you don't have as many fucking bosses wandering around. It's just a better work environment. And actually, from what I understand, like data on manufacturing places, second shift is usually the most productive of the three, which doesn't surprise me because, I mean, with third shift, that's too late. I mean, that does mess people up and people do get tired, but second shift's not that bad. Plus, again, you don't have as many bosses. So we'll see if I get it. If not, I still have unemployment for a while. So that should be okay. But I mean, I want to get back to work. I don't like the neat lifestyle. Bechtloff, you are forbidden from working second shift on Saturdays. It would not be a weekend thing, so that wouldn't affect it. I don't believe there'd be. It didn't sound like there's any real mandatory overtime, at least not often. I mean, I can't promise that maybe not once in a blue moon it would happen, but it's probably a lot like my last job. My last job made me work one weekend in the course of 5 years. And that was actually when they were moving a warehouse to another building, so they needed us all there that weekend. But, you know, I mean, shit comes up. But somebody said I need to make sure rape jokes don't become a regular thing. I don't know. I'm not sure what the hell that's referring to, but okay. Let's see what else we got going on here today. Bechtloff, why don't you get a manual labor job like Arini? I don't know. There's not really. Most of my adult life, I've worked warehouse or factory jobs. That's just what I have the most experience with. I mean, and to be honest, the only way I really know to find fucking jobs in this area is to register with the various temp services and have them find you a temp to hire job. That's just every place around here refuses to hire any other way, basically. And I can understand why, because when they have a temp, it's a good screening process. I mean, you can fire a temp for any reason because you're not even really firing them. You're just no longer, needing their services kind of thing. You're no longer, requiring them, I guess is the way you word it, but it's not strictly firing them, as it were. But yeah, most places you get a job through a temp service. You're through the temp service for about 90 days, and then the company will hire you on full time. That's how almost every job I've ever had has been. Somebody says, how should girls who run away to join ISIS and marry jihadists be punished? For German girls, can you really blame them? Well, every member of ISIS has to be executed. I mean, you have to, well, as Anakin Skywalker said, not just the men, but the women and the children. So he says, just remember to yell surprise, and it's not right. I guess. What else did I want to talk about? I don't know. I was fighting with a bunch of Catholics on Twitter. I don't know if I really want to even get into that. I've seen like a ton of Catholics on my Twitter. I don't know. There was some sort of Catholic church had this fucking like service for teens. It wasn't even like a mass. It wasn't, but it was just this like Saturday service for teens where, the priest had some sort of bullshit Christian rock music up there and he's dancing or something and having a good time. Harmless. I mean, it can be a touch cringy, but Christians attempt at being entertaining often can, sadly. I have to admit that about my fellow believers. But no, it seemed harmless. But everyone on Trad Twitter was just Trad Catholic Twitter was just flipping their shit about it. And I just had a tweet where I'm like, it's Trad Catholics seem more upset about this than they do the pederast problem in their church. And and it's true. I mean, shit, I know, it's Catholics that I respect and all, but they want to be like, no, that problem's gone. It's fine. We put in reforms that fixed it. Like, first of all, there's no reforms you could put in that could have possibly fixed that problem. Because, I mean, it's not like it wasn't already against the rules to butt fuck little boys and to fucking cover up for that shit. All right. What you need is a complete flushing out of your leadership. You need different men in charge. All right. The rules don't magically enforce themselves. It's not fucking Hogwarts. All right. You need different men in charge. You need to take a good long look at how it fucking happened for decades and decades and decades on end and fix that. There's no little bullshit reform you could put in place. And this guy, he actually thinks that it's not going on still. Like, they just busted a fucking drug-fueled homosexual orgy at the Vatican. And you really think that, yeah, they're doing that, but the altar boys are off limits? Fucking bullshit. Come on. I'm sorry, that's something the way Catholics can get upset over the fact that the architecture isn't fucking ancient looking enough, or the fucking music isn't old sounding enough, or something. These fucking trivial, superficial surface things. They get so fucking upset about that. And then they want to get mad at me when I point out this actual fucking horrific habitual problem within the church. They're mad at me, not even mad at the problem. That's being a Pharisee. I don't know another word for it. That's being a whitewashed tomb. So he says, I feel a sense of autism when I look at Trad Twitter. Nothing personal, it just seems oddly foreign and unnecessary to me. And tradition is a wonderful thing, but it's not Christianity. It's not the church. It's not salvation. Salvation doesn't come from tradition. The church is not tradition. Christianity is not tradition. Tradition's nice, but don't make an idol out of it. And sometimes traditions are wrong. Sometimes traditions need to go bye-byes. And don't get me wrong, you shouldn't necessarily be quick to do that, because what was it G.K. Chesterton said? If you're going to tear down a fence, you should know why it's there first. Well, implicit or implied in that statement, I should say, is that sometimes you have to tear down a fence. Delta USA says trad papists are all about tradition, making the word of God vain. Yes, again, tradition is not a bad thing, far from it. But it's something you can make an idol out of. And it just seems like they have. The church is not a pretty building. The church is not an organization. Somebody says traditions like Catholic boy rape are one of those bad traditions. Yeah, at that point, that's practically become a tradition, hasn't it? I mean, at that point, I guess trad Catholics have to defend that shit. I mean, how long does it have to stay around before it becomes a tradition? I'm just wondering. Is it another 100 years of not addressing that problem, and then we'll just start? So he says 30% of evangelicals are pro-gay, 70% of Catholics are pro-gay. Guess which one sounds more in line with the Bible? I have heard that statistic, and I take minor bits of issue with it. Because I remember a few years ago how, I don't know, and maybe I'm projecting that, most people perhaps are not this nuanced, but I've seen some of those polls, and like, quote unquote, being pro-gay is like, should gay marriage be legal or illegal? Well, I mean, for the longest time, I took the position that while I thought homosexuality was wrong, I didn't really care if gay marriage was legal. I was like, whatever, fine. They want a piece of paper from the government. It's no skin off my back. Now, I've since realized how much it is fucking skin off my back, because that's not all they wanted. So I've been forced to reverse that position. But originally, I took a position of, a live and let live position. And part of me wonders if maybe the reason it's so high is because more people were in line with me on that. But at the same time, I also wonder maybe most people really can't differentiate between moral and immoral and legal versus illegal. Somebody says I'd cut that in half and say 50 years will be enough to make pederasty a tradition. I mean, it's basically already a tradition with the Muslims, so let's see. Yeah. Grethol says, makes sense. I just noticed after meeting a ton of Catholics that they aren't as serious or knowledgeable of Scripture. Well, I mean, you have to remember that, as far as I know, Scripture is but a small part of what they view as the faith. Tradition is given basically just as much weight, which I think is essentially heresy. Somebody said, how are you doing tonight, Bechtloff? I'm doing pretty damn good. Got a possible job prospect. Had me a wonderful weekend, so I'm doing pretty damn good. Let's see. 100 years sounds too generous anyways. Well, yeah, what? 100 years, it's really set in stone. And I mean, really, we're already at about, I'm going to say, at least 30 years. I mentioned this before, people who want to be like, that was just a problem that popped up 10 years ago. No. That was the worst kept secret in the world for longer than I've been alive. And I mentioned the movie Airplane as just an example that I could think of without even doing research. In the movie Airplane, which, by the way, is a hilarious movie if you've never seen it, you should go watch that movie. But there's a scene in there where this guy's like reading a dirty magazine like a Playboy, and he pulls out a centerfold. And then you pan over to a priest in the next seat, and he's reading Boy's Life, and he pulls out a centerfold. And I looked the other day because I caught that movie on the cable channels. 1980, that movie was made. 3 years before I was born, and they were making that joke. So the idea that it just popped up 10, 15 years ago. And I remember when people wanted to claim that. I remember back around 2000, when the shit was really hitting the fan. I used to watch Hannity a lot, and Hannity's a big Catholic, and he wanted to be like, I can't believe this is happening. Really? How did you not know? And that's the condemning thing. That's where I take the real issue. You all fucking knew that shit was happening. You all fucking knew it. You don't tell me you didn't. And don't tell me you don't know it's still happening. You know it's happening. Yeah. Somebody says, what do you think about the gays that were against gay marriage? I don't know. I mean, I'd have to hear why they were against it. Somebody says, should be more people hitting the like button. Well, I'm not gonna argue that. Also, should be more people checking out that little donation link there. You can give me some motherfucking shekels. Because I need me some shekels. Somebody says H Bomber guy tried to use Wikipedia to debunk Rocky Mystery on cultural Marxism. I don't know who H Bomber guy is, so I couldn't comment on that. Do women love criminals? Well, I don't know. Chicks love a bad boy, I guess. Is alpha fucks beta bucks true? Yes, kind of. I mean, you have to understand, like, all that manosphere stuff about where they're kind of describing the more animalistic side of people. And, some people do rise above that, at least in part, and some people don't. So, are traps gay? Yes, traps are absolutely gay. In fact, I have a video on transsexualism coming up soon. It's just a couple of minutes long. I just need I don't have a fucking movie maker program on this computer, so I'm gonna have Luke throw it together into a video format for me later tonight, and probably get it on the next day or so. But anyways, I was thinking of this the other day. Of all the bullshit that the left has pushed over the last 5-10 years in particular, I would argue that the transsexual movement, transsexual agenda, whatever you want to call it, is by far the most destructive. And the reason being is it goes well beyond mere sexual degeneracy. To being just a fundamental attack on truth. Like when you have somebody like fucking, I don't know any of these freaks really, but, you know, there's some dude in a wig and a 5 o'clock shadow who demands that you call him she or her or Zimzer or whatever the fuck other nonsense, right? That's a lot different. That's a lot worse, I should say, than your mere run of the mill sexual degeneracy. This person is pressure. You're being pressured, and in some cases forced. Cough, cough, Canada, to affirm something that is obviously, at a glance, demonstrably untrue. That's an attack on truth. That is making you say there's 5 lights. That's Orwellian shit right there. That's far, far worse than any of the other bullshit they push. See, somebody says in the chat, you can't change your chromosomes. Oh, that's the thing. Yeah, you can't. I mean, there's no such thing as a sex change procedure. They don't even have that kind of technology in Star Trek. Okay, doesn't fucking exist. What they can do is they can chemically and surgically mutilate you until you kind of sort of resemble the opposite sex, but usually not even really. You know, the most that can be hoped for there is a convincing looking illusion, and usually it's not even that. Somebody says true blasphemy is attacking truth. Somebody says people took Jurassic Park too seriously. Yeah. The fucking dinosaurs maybe going to change their sex, but not you. Somebody says the left took a mental illness, spread it to mainstream, indoctrinated kids as to how it's something to be prideful of, and try to destroy society as a whole. The myth is that you were born with the brain of the opposite sex, which is complete bunk. Well, I mean, there are some scans that and trannies will point to this, and I do want to be fair, that in many cases, and I mean, these days with societal pressure, I don't know that everyone who becomes a tranny is even actually suffering from real gender dysphoria. But in many cases, somebody with gender dysphoria, their brain doesn't look like a man's. For example, a male to female one. But also, their brain doesn't really look like a female's either, because they're sick. Their brain's not functioning correctly. And I don't dispute that in many of these cases there is something wrong with their brain. There is a mental illness going on here. But you know, the solution here isn't to change the body to be in quote unquote in line with the brain, because really we can't. That's the thing. Never mind the morals of it. We can't really change your body to be the opposite sex. Again, the most we can hope for is a convincing illusion, and usually not even that. But we can bring your mind in line with reality. So that seems to be the one we should do. If for no other reason, then we can't really do the other one. Also, I will say, and I've pointed this out too, the one interesting thing about the transsexual movement is that it did kind of take a lot of the piss out of feminist sales, for the simple fact that if I'm to understand that this person's has the brain of a woman inside the body of a man, and that's why we have to chemically and surgically mutilate them to kind of sort of resemble a woman, but not really, I first have to accept the reality that a woman's brain is fundamentally different than a man's. Otherwise, this whole thing holds no water at all. Let's see. And I don't see the difference between a transsexual and somebody who thinks that, their left arm isn't truly a part of them, so they want to cut it off. I mean, there's a body dysphoria either way. There's something wrong with their brain where their brain can't accept that their body is what it is. Either way, it's something wrong with their brain. So why in one case is it okay to mutilate the body to be in line with this mental sickness, and in the other case it's not? I don't see the difference between the two. Somebody says, Bechtloff, what is your racial background? Well, Bechtloff is a fucking white male. Let's see. Somebody says, I'm glad about the fact that I plan on homeschooling my kids. Oh, absolutely. I would say that at the very least, you need to homeschool your kids through the elementary years. Because here's the thing. There's nothing that is ever taught in an elementary school that you shouldn't have a basic grasp of that you can teach your kids. I understand maybe later years you'd want to get some professionals involved. But when they're at their most formative, at the very least, homeschool. Somebody says, is Uber worth doing, Bechtloff? I don't know. I really haven't looked into it, to be honest with you. It's not something that really interests me a great deal. I'm not much of a people person. And the idea of picking up a bunch of fucking strangers in my car all day long is not exactly the most appealing thing. I've heard you can make good money at it. Maybe that's true. And I'm not saying I'm completely above it, that I wouldn't do it if it made financial sense and the opportunity presented itself. It's not exactly something that not exactly something I'm looking for. Somebody says, my mom, sisters, and aunts homeschooled my cousins the whole way. Yeah, I at the very least, I would do it for the elementary years. And then, maybe like in high school, I might send them, but to probably not a public school, but maybe a private school. So I don't know. But, at the very least, the more formative years. They won't learn social skills. Yeah, well, the average public school, I mean, if those are the social skills you want your kid to learn, you might as well throw them in the monkey cage at the zoo. I mean, I went through the public school system, and I went to relatively good public schools, and they were still shit. And that was 15 years ago, so I can't imagine. I can't imagine, 15 years of additional cultural decay did it any favors. Somebody says, where are the 1488ers in here? I missed the 1488 crowd. I don't think I have a tremendous amount of them left in my audience. And it's not, I don't have a great deal of beef with them. As someone famously once said, that, and it upset a chemist to hear this, but I'm a white nationalist on paper. I mean, I'm extremely sympathetic to the goals and the concerns of white nationalism. I just don't identify as a white nationalist. I can't be as absolutist about it as they are. The kids would have learned social skills better by watching actual adults interact. Oh yeah, that is one of the best things you can do for kids, is have them be not segregated from the adults all the time. I can't wait for the outbreak of the super germ that will kill all the faggots. Oh, that's a fun thing to argue with liberals when they want to be like, can you give me a reason why homosexuality is wrong other than your Bible says so? Yeah, it spreads disease. Habitual butt stuff spreads disease. Because, you're kind of dealing with shit a lot. You know, they say like you should wash your hands after you go to the bathroom. It's because, you know, human shit has tremendous amounts of germs in it. Let's see. Bechtloff, I know you don't want to talk about politics, but how is Trump doing by your standards? I don't mind talking about politics. I get bored with it after a while. Well, I think Trump's doing fine. There's some stuff I haven't particularly enjoyed, and I wish he'd go a bit more on the offensive. But all in all, I mean, he's already done some good work. All in all, he's a better president than, you know, the last, four? The last, like, three, I should say. But, yeah. Yeah, easily the last three. Trump can't get shit passed due to the rhinos. Fuck the rhinos. Fuck McCain. Yes, McCain dead yet? Bechtloff, by the time a homeschool kid reaches high school, they would be better able to take care of themselves than the most modern adults. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I might send a kid to high school after he's been homeschooled for a while. Because first of all, like, he's probably going to blow through a lot of the classes. He's going to be way ahead of his peers. If he's at all bright, you know, even above average intelligence, you can get him way past your typical high school graduate by the time they're a freshman. Easily. And honestly, the reason I think I'd send him to a high school, maybe not a public one, maybe a private one, depends on exactly what the school district around me would be in this hypothetical situation that I have a fucking teenage kid. Is just to really to meet a fucking girl. I don't know what else to say. This is something the baby boomers sold both the Gen Xers and millennials, and it's quite the bill of goods. But you're kind of biologically meant to pair bond for life in your late teens, early 20s. This nonsense of, you know, don't rush into anything, wait. No, you should take dating at even a young age very seriously. You know, all these boomers will say, don't rush into it, saying you got your whole life ahead of you. And then you get 2 beers in them and they won't stop crying about their high school sweetheart that got away. All right. So I'm not saying go marry the first girl you kiss. They're teenagers. I'm just saying you might, and there's nothing wrong with that. Let's see. Somebody says, yeah, who the fuck wants to marry a woman in her 30s? Well, I'm in my 30s, so I'm kind of stuck with that by and large. And here's the thing. Like, I won't marry a woman that's got kids. Maybe I would consider it if she was a widower or a divorcee. But these single moms that just got their dumbass pregnant, like without a husband or anything in the picture, that's. I would have an easier time if I found out a girl I was dating had done porn years ago than the fact that she has a little bastard. Bechtloff, how would you prevent marrying a woman who ran the cock carousel in her if she's in her 30s? You can kind of get lucky within the church. A lot of single women in their 30s in the church. And I mean, there's not that many in the first fucking place, but maybe they're not virgins, but you're going to either run the gambit. You're going to either run a woman that just got so caught up in her career and she just never found a guy. Maybe she just wasn't looking and, you know, bought into that, oh, you're so young, you got forever kind of crap, which is less of in the church, mind you. Maybe she fucked once or twice, but by and large, she might even still be a virgin. You'll find some of that, and then you'll find the opposite extreme of the hoe bag who got fucking blown out, you know, got a bunch of fucking bastard kids and shit like that, now come to Jesus and all, and that's fine. He forgave you, And yeah, you can be a part of this church and all that stuff, but I ain't fucking raising your mistakes. All right. Bechtloff, read Darlock on church women. Yes, I know. Don't get me wrong. There's problems with the church women. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying you're going to have a better luck if you're in your 30s finding a woman your age that's worthwhile in the church than out of it. I'm not going to say you're going to have the best of luck. Trust me, if you're in your 30s, odds are you're going to have to start dating younger. But you might luck out. Never know what's out there. Never know what kind of cool thing you'll stumble across. And plus, I won't date a woman outside the church, anyways. I won't date a woman that's not a Christian, anyway. So, you know, whether she's in her 20s or 30s, she's not a Christian. She's not for me. Let's see. What else did I miss in the chat here? Somebody says you can date a girl who's around 5 years younger than you. I mean, I don't know what you mean by can. I mean, you know, as far as I know, you can date a woman that's 18 or up, regardless of the age difference. You know, should is maybe a better question, but can, you know, nobody's going to stop you. Honestly, I would date a woman, you know, considerably younger than me, and that wouldn't bother me. You know. Let's see what we got here. Bechtloff, when are you going to do another what do you know about? I really do need to do another one of those. I apologize that I've let that sit too long. Bechtloff, have you seen Dunkirk or Baby Driver yet? I have not seen either, no. Half your age plus 7 is the rule. I mean, I'm 34, so I guess that means I even could date an 18-year-old with the half your age plus 7 thing. Or wait, no, I couldn't. Never mind. I was messing that up. No, I guess I'd be stuck with mid-20s. But I don't know. I mean, I don't rule a lot out, you know. If I found something special worth holding on to, if you know, not gonna rule a lot out. Yeah, 24 would be where I could. Yeah, I messed up the math in my head. Catholics do the half your age minus 7 rule. Priest likes his altar boy like he likes his wine. 8 years old and locked in his basement. Somebody says, here comes the contrarian pagan LARPers. What? Do I gotta... I didn't see any of that in the chat yet. Somebody says, cuck's gonna cuck. No basement waifus. Christian's been working on his fanfic for once. He's trying to be sponsored by Crayola. his Sonic shoe. I love that the Sonic Twitter like even acknowledged that the one time. They're like, "Will Sonic Chew be in this new game?" And he's like, "Yes, except that he will be fat and purple and called Big the Cat." McCain is talking shit about Trump, even though he's dying. McCain is scum. Yeah, McCain. That tumor can't end him fast enough. McCain is absolute filth. He absolutely deserves to die. I'm I'm just Christian enough to not wish it be very painful. Let's see. How is Chris Chan not dead yet? That's a good question. I thought that fucking wound that he thought was a vagina was going to kill him. I really thought that was going to kill him. Spoiler alert, McCain is actually a cyborg zombie. He can't die fast enough, as far as I'm concerned. Somebody says, "Who the fuck is Chris Chan?" Well, it's funny you should ask that. I have a video in which I explain the saga of Chris Chan to a buddy of mine, a normie friend who is not aware of such things. So I would highly suggest checking that out. Let's see. Chris Chan claims the wound was healed. He thought that was a vagina, not a wound. All the shit lives feel suddenly sad for McCain. As much as I hope the fucker's dead by the end of the year, who knows? Maybe he'll be one of these cocksuckers that just fucking clings to life forever. Like fucking Dick Cheney. Like Dick Cheney has like a heart attack every other fucking day and he doesn't die. He's just so vile, hell itself keeps spitting him back out. Same with McCain, probably. Is Chris Chan someone we should educate ourselves about? Oh, yeah. What do you think of Anita Sarkeesian? I think she's bad and that she should feel bad and all the bad things in life should happen to her. Dick Cheney has a heart transplant. Doesn't Dick Cheney just drain the life force from a virgin once a month to stay alive or something? He says, I don't think about Anita Sarkeesian. It makes me happier. McCain will join Soros's legion of arch-vampire Nazi liberals. Cheney is 76, but looks 97. I am shocked that he's that young. I thought Cheney was at least in his 80s. Oh, I got a robot voice. Hang on. Okay, I'm back. Does that sound all right? The $6 billion Bechtloff. What the fuck happened? Hopefully I fixed the robot voice. Sounds better. All right. Let's see. Cheney's like a real life Bond villain. At least liberals think so. He kind of is. Don't get me wrong. Soros is really the fucking Bond villain, but Cheney was trash. Chris Chan just passed his first kidney stone the other day. Ooh, that's fucking rough. What else we got going on here? It looks like the chat's kind of winding down. I'm probably gonna wrap this up then. Let's see. That's a robot voice again. Oh well. I'm gonna wrap this up anyways. Thanks for listening, everybody. Sorry if it's robot voice right now. If you enjoy the show, like, comment, subscribe, check out the tip jar. And that's all I got for tonight, folks. Bechtloff out.